When you think of an orchid, what comes to mind? Probably a gorgeous, maybe kind of fragile flower, right? But that's not the whole story. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see these plants for what they really are, absolute marvels of engineering. They are some of the most complex and successful pollination machines on the entire planet.
I mean, really, how does it do it? Because that's literally what's going on here. We're talking about an arsenal of strategies that sounds way more like a spy novel than a botany class. They use straight-up deception, elaborate traps, and even a kind of biological superglue, all to make sure they not only survive, but thrive.
And just how successful are we talking? Well, look at that number. Over 28,000 known species. That makes them one of the biggest, most diverse plant families out there. You can find them in pretty much every corner of the globe. And believe me, this didn't happen by accident. It's all because of some brilliant, and let's be honest, sometimes really weird evolutionary design.
So what's their secret? How did they pull this off? Well, their whole success story really starts with taking the standard flower blueprint and completely rewriting it. They took all the basic parts and rewired them for one very, very specific goal. Okay, so here's the first huge change. Think about most flowers, like a daisy. They're what you call radially symmetric. You can slice them up like a pizza, and every slice looks the same. An orchid? Nope. It's bilaterally symmetric, just like a person's face. There's a clear top, a bottom, a left, and a right. This basically forces an insect to land in one very specific way. And even more critical, they took their male and female parts and fused them together into one super efficient piece of machinery.
Now, to make that new face-like design work, the orchid has to do something incredible. It's called resupination. As the flower bud develops, it performs this slow-motion gymnastic twist, a full 180 degrees. And why? This amazing rotation moves what should be the top petal all the way to the bottom, creating the absolute perfect custom-built landing strip for its pollinator.
And that landing pad, well, that's where all the action happens. It's called the labellum, or just the lip, but it's so much more than a place to stand. It's the orchid's billboard, its welcome mat, its trapdoor, and its seductress, all rolled into one. This is the main tool it uses to attract and manipulate its targets.
So, in its simplest form, the lip is a trap, a physical trap. Take slipper orchids, for instance. That lip forms a deep, waxy pouch. An insect gets lured in by a tantalizing scent, it slips, and falls right in. Now, there's only one way out, a tiny, narrow tunnel that forces it to crawl right past the goods. It's a one-way street that absolutely guarantees pollen gets transferred.
Other orchids are a little more exclusive. They've turned their lip into a long, hollow tube called a spur, and they hide a tiny drop of nectar way down at the bottom. The catch? The length of that spur is perfectly matched to the tongue length of just one specific pollinator. It's like a VIP club. If your tongue isn't exactly the right length, you're not getting in. And this idea, this perfect lock-and-key fit, has an amazing backstory. The great Charles Darwin himself was studying this one orchid from Madagascar with a nectar spur that was almost a foot long. He famously predicted that there had to be a moth out there with a tongue long enough to reach it. People thought he was nuts, but guess what? Decades after he died, that very moth was discovered. He was right all along.
But okay, if you think that's wild, get a load of this. This has to be the most audacious strategy of all. Some orchids offer no reward whatsoever. No nectar, nothing. Instead, the lip becomes a perfect imposter of a female bee. I'm not just talking about how it looks. It has the right fuzzy texture, and it even releases the exact same chemical pheromones. A poor, unsuspecting male bee comes along, thinks he's found a mate, and, well, in the process, he gets a little packet of pollen glued right onto him. It's the ultimate trick.
All right, so the orchid has successfully lured its pollinator in. The trap has been sprung. Now the real mechanical genius kicks in. We have to look at the engine at the heart of this flower, the column and its incredible little payload.
This right here, this is the column. It's the orchid's single most defining feature. It's that fused-up structure we talked about earlier, combining everything, all the male and female parts, into one slick, central unit. You will not find this anywhere else in the plant kingdom. Think of it like a biological control tower managing the whole operation.
And here's the package that the column delivers. Orchids don't mess around with loose, dusty pollen, oh no, that's way too inefficient. They package thousands of pollen grains into these waxy little bundles called pollinia. And these bundles are attached by a little stalk to a pad of incredibly sticky, fast-setting glue. This whole high-tech, pre-packaged unit is called the polliniarium.
So let's watch how this works. It's like a finely tuned machine. The insect bumps into a little trigger on the column, and bam, that sticky pad instantly glues the entire pollinarium to its body. But here is the truly brilliant part. At first, the pollen mass is pointed the wrong way for pollination, but as the insect flies away, the little stalk starts to dry and bend, rotating the pollen into the perfect forward-facing position. This time delay is genius. It stops the insect from pollinating the same flower it just left, and makes sure the payload is armed and ready for the next orchid it visits.
This whole system, from the lip to the column to the bending pollen stalk, is an absolute marvel of precision. But being this specialized, this perfect, it's not just an advantage. It's also a massive, high-stakes gamble.
You see, here's the trade-off. The reward is huge. This system is so incredibly efficient that almost no pollen gets wasted. And that precision is what allows new species of orchids to pop up at an explosive rate. It's why there are so many of them. But the risk? The risk is just as big. When you tie your entire existence to a single species of bee or a single moth, you are incredibly vulnerable. If your one and only pollinator disappears, that's it. Game over. You can't reproduce.
And that really brings us to the final thought here. For millions of years, these flowers have been perfecting this intricate dance with their world, creating these stunning, complex machines for survival. But their perfection is also their greatest weakness, their fragility. So the question we have to ask is, what happens to these specialists when the world they perfected starts to change all around them? That's something we all need to think about.